Hey guys, Yasin here. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about stem separation. In front of me, I have my last single, but I separated the whole song with three services. One, in the DAW, I used Apple's own stem splitter that came out with the recent updates. I mean, not so recent. I think maybe it's been a year or half a year, not sure. And the next one is RipX. I am using the free trial right now, and this is the last version possible. And I split it with RipX. And the next one is Moises. And this video is brought to you by no one. It's just me with an idea. But I'm proud to say that I'm a Moises artist now. I am doing some content creation with Moises. And this video is actually coming from this collaboration, so to say. But yeah, this is not in any way a sponsored video. I will be honest. I will give you the examples and you will be the judge of this. And I will also talk about each service and why they are beneficial, what is the most important parts that you need to focus. And the last one is the original stems. This single is not mixed by me. This one I tried to go with a different way, and I asked my friend Atesh, who's a very good at this, and he's also the guest in the song. So the solo is his guest solo. And I will also show you the lead separation model in the Moises this way. But there will be no vocals. If you're interested in that, please let me know so I can also come up with a video and come up with some examples that includes vocals. Of course, this won't be my song, so I hope that I'm not gonna get any copyright strike from that, but I will do my best to use a good example. Just let me know, put it in the comments so I can make it happen. So let's start. I chose chorus, and right now let's get a little bit closer and make these guys a little bit big. You're gonna hear the song first, because if you never listened, check the link in the description so you can actually go to your favorite platform and listen my stuff. But you're gonna hear the chorus first. I chose it because it's dense compared to other sections. I will start by isolating drums because the drums are much harder to separate. There are so many instruments in the drums. Hopefully you will get the most important difference in here. Let's start. I am playing the song, the chorus section. This is the chorus. Here we got a synth, we got a guitar, which is kind of ambient-ish kind of guitar. And I pushed it a little bit higher, so it's gonna be like a vocal in this context. And you hear the riff and changes and a lot of drums, basically. And let's start with the Apple separation. Apple separation provides us vocal separation, drum separation, bass separation, and other meaning everything else, which is something that I don't like, but it's okay because drums and bass is one of the most fundamental things in this music. So I totally support having the drums and bass. I wish though if they could, come up with an update that separate guitars. That would be really nice, even if just not the lead. Anyway, let's play the drums now with the Apple separation. I, as you can see, muted everything. I am unmuting the Apple and you will hear only drums here. To me, snares and toms are separated very nicely, but I'm not quite sure about the cymbals and the kick because most of the time with the separation it's maybe the biggest problem. It's just leaking into vocals, leaking into guitars, and it gets weak pretty quickly. The next one is RipX and it's drum. Actually, it's much better to just solo while I'm not muting. Why I'm muting is I'm also doing a recording through the mic. Let's continue with the drums from RipX. I really like this one. It's kind of much better, but not at first because it's also picking up the sample that I was using. But besides that, I think the cymbals were a little bit higher, so it didn't leak to other tracks, which is good for us. Kick was nice, and snare and tom kind of similar. So nothing to worry about. And the next one is Moises. Let's isolate the drums. If you realized the riser that I was using leaked into the right side and snare was okay, but with the RipX we had more of the ghost snare. It was much more audible, so it wasn't leaking to other tracks. I think it is much better to use, if you have all of them, that would be really nice, but if you need to choose among them, if I need to choose among them, it would be RipX because having the impact in the drums separation, I think it's fine. But the riser is whole a lot of different topic. And considering in the riser part, we have a small fill as a transition, it would be much better to have RipX in this case because it was clean on the clean on the fills basically. So I also want to isolate the original ones, but mix bus and the master bus actually not in these stems because they're normally acting through the drums. But if I'm isolating just the rhythms, the mix bus won't affect as it does with everything going into mix bus. That's why you're gonna have a different tonality, but I want to show it to you and make you listen because it's much better to understand what is the source context and what happened afterwards. That's why let's hear the drums from the original stuff where I used actually P5 kit, and I think I used a couple more stuff, but I need to remember it was like 7-8 months ago. I'm not quite sure if I actually included One Kit Wonder Architects here, but I don't think so. So what I'm doing now is using the original stems and isolating drums. Let's go. If you realize the kick sample isolated much better in the Moises. It's not a sample. I mean, it's actually a sample. But anyway, the kick isolated much better in the Moises. And the fills isolated much better in RipX. I think cymbal is pretty hard to isolate, so it's fine. I know in all of them the cymbals leaked into other areas, but it's okay. The next one is bass. A huge disclaimer that I kinda sucked with a couple of stuff in this song, and even though I'm very proud with the composition, what I thought about the riffs, what I thought about the song, I will have definitely a very different approach next time. The most important areas where I need to improve myself, which I already improved myself, but I didn't come up with a new single, so you actually don't know the current conditions and my level of attention detail, basically. The bass kind of robotic, and I use the synthesizers here and there with the ambient guitars to not cover it, but like support it in the low side as well. Not in the low domain though, not in the low frequencies. Anyway, I will actually start from the original content and I will go through Apple, RipX, and Moises because I just realized it's much better to start with the source context. I'm gonna isolate the bass, this Nolly bass, and I used the heavy section. I increased the sub a little, maybe tone it a little, and I either didn't touch or moved a little for muting. So I'm pretty happy about how bass works in the song, but I'm not happy about how the bass is programmed. And it's also coming from the fact that I really like submachine audio products, but with Nolly bass I had only one articulation, which is slide, and normally you need to be very careful with the velocity when you have limited articulations. This Nolly bass is all about how Nolly plays. So I think it wasn't the best. It's not going to be the best example of MIDI programming and what you're going to hear, but I'm pretty sure that we will understand the bass separation from this song. Okay, disclaimer done. Let's hear the original bass stem from this song. Not the most interesting bass. It's supporting the whole rhythm in the chorus. So yeah, I will start again with the Apple one. Let's isolate bass and listen what Apple separation did. I'm not quite sure if you could pick it up as a ding wall when you're hearing for the first time. And I think cymbals just a very small amount on every hit, every attack leaked into the bass. I don't know how. Let's hear the other ones so I can actually compare them, and you can as well. This one is RipX bass separation on chorus. Okay, I think these separation models are focusing a lot on the bass side, and I think Dingwall has this upper mid-range clanky area that is not part of these stems on Apple and RipX. But yeah, let's hear about the Moises, how it separated the bass, so we can actually compare and give a number. I think it misses a couple of stuff like the low end here, but you can definitely understand that this is a dingle. My point is the Moises. After that, I can think of RipX, but it was not so different when I compare it to Apple. But I think Apple's low side, low frequencies, and maybe overall bass leaked into other tracks, and RipX actually picked up a little bit more compared to Apple. So I say Moises first, RipX as second, and Apple as the third one here. Pretty interesting to see those differences in the stem separation, which is a very hard topic. I'm a software developer coming from an AI background. I'm not doing that stuff anymore, but I was very interested in this kind of stuff and seeing how these different models picking up is pretty interesting actually. So the next one is going to be a little bit hard because we are in a different territory now because Apple has other for every single synth, every single piano, every single guitar, and so on. And I don't know what to show. I mean, at least how to show. This is also kind of a reaction video because I never ever listened to these stems before. So this is kind of a live reaction that you're actually seeing and hearing from me. What I'm going to do now, kind of a special one, because other means a lot of different stuff right now. When you think about other in Moises, it means that it says that I separated the lead, I separate the piano, rhythm, bass, and drums, and this is what left. With RipX, it couldn't actually differentiate it and split it, the lead guitar. Their models don't do that. This kind of leaves us with a decision of muting bass and drums and listening all of the models one by one. And after that, I will show you the difference between RipX guitar rhythm and Moises guitar rhythm. So I will mute drums and bass from the original, and you're gonna hear that first. Then we'll go into the Apple other track. And after that, I will mute bass and drums on RipX and Moises as well, so you can understand if any drums or bass actually leaked into these other sections. Let's go and click original, mute drums, mute bass, and listen to it. If you realized what happened with the samples were a little bit interesting, because as I understand in the mix bus we have a very good compression over the snare, a little bit of kick, and definitely samples. So yeah, I just want to leave that out. And this was the original stems. Let's hear what Apple picked up, actually what's left from bass and drums and vocals here. That was pretty interesting. I heard every single snare and ghost snare, even though drums were separated. So I think Apple didn't do a good job when it comes to that, but considering this metalcore, instrumental metalcore, gent, whatever you name it, has a dense mix, I think it wouldn't be fair to say that Apple actually failed. So if that would be a Taylor Swift song, maybe it could do a much better job. Now I'm going to isolate bass and drums. Sorry, mute bass and drums on the RipX, and you're gonna hear the rest. I think with the guitars it was pretty successful since all the guitars are here. But when we isolate it, we're gonna check it. I still heard the snares, but it actually didn't leak like Apple actually had. It was much more cleaner, definitely much more cleaner. And now considering that I'm assuming this is the other tracked and I'm comparing one by one to Apple and RipX, RipX actually killing it right now. Next one is Moises. Again, I'm muting bass and drums, and you're gonna hear the rest other. It is really, really successful. Bass didn't leak. Drums, I didn't hear that much. And none of the ghost snares actually. So it's pretty nice. This, I think Moises again, number one here. RipX 2, but kind of a close call in my opinion. And Apple definitely failed on dance mixes here. Next one is actually only between RipX and Moises. And the reason is there are no other left. Apple cannot provide guitars here as difference or piano. So what I'm going to do is actually just focus on RipX and Moises. But I actually want to show you what other means for RipX and Moises right now. Because for Apple, other was this, the rest. But since RipX can actually split the stems a little bit more and various, and Moises can also do that, I think it would be really nice to hear what other means for these services. And I want to say something about Moises here. I actually chose the instruments thinking that these are in my single, so it would be really nice to separate it. There are so many options that you can actually do in the Moises service, and it's getting constantly updated. I have different use cases, like when I do, it's not shared yet, but there are some live streams about it. I will also start shooting the video, hopefully this week or the next. Epica Unleashed, which is again pretty dense, and there are a lot of orchestration, and when you try to split those stems to make it much better, which I did a remake. I programmed the whole drums and bass, and I also programmed all of the orchestration from scratch, and I mixed everything by referencing the song. So I really needed all the help I could get. And what I did, I used Moises. There's a string section that is pretty hard to hear. Also, after the separation, this other means, again, if you have so many options for stem splitting like Moises has, other leaves you very small amount of samples and impacts and risers, FX layer basically. And also the brass section from orchestra, for example, none of the other instruments are leaking into this, and brass cannot actually, since it's kind of a mid-range thing, it can leak into other stuff. But Moises did a pretty good job, so I could actually listen the whole string section and the brass section, and I actually got a really good help from the Moises models here. I just want to say that because this other is kind of annoying. When I was doing the stem splitting for the first time, it was pretty annoying because all the guitars are here, all the lead guitars are here. So I am doing a very special processing here, which I can talk about in the future videos if you're interested. But that being said, I talk a little bit too much. Let's isolate to RipX other and then Moises other. I'm going to start with Moises other. That is pretty interesting. We have a lot of snare information here, and it would be really nice actually we could pick that up in drums. But I think since we have some amounts of reverb here and the parallel compression, maybe it's just picking up stuff from there. Maybe it actually manages differentiating different layers that has snare inside for processing, but I'm not quite sure. I don't think that. I think Moises actually, lost some information and it leaked into other. And let's hear RipX other right now. that was very interesting. We did not hear any snare. I mean, I did not hear any snare. No ghost, no hit. So I think RipX actually killed it. That was really nice. And it picked up the synths, it picked up the supporting the melody guitar. So RipX definitely won the other part, thinking about, the whole snare separation and drum stuff, drum separation, basically. And maybe also impacts, because I right now don't know where are the impacts. I kind of know because we already heard that in the drums. Some of the impacts actually leaked into drums, so it's there, so it's not leaked into the other. But it was pretty interesting. I am pretty interested right now about what I'm gonna hear in the guitar. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm going to start from RipX guitar and then Moises rhythm guitar, then original, because I want to understand if it actually managed to pick up the melody guitar. Again, this is kind of a reaction video, so I never ever heard the RipX guitar separation before, so it's maybe much better to start with RipX here. Let's go. It was nice. It was nice. It picked up the melody part just a little on the attacks and maybe a bit of transient. And all the rhythm guitars, maybe I can't say all, but most of the rhythm guitars were definitely there. Let's hear the Moises and decide. I really don't think that it's a win. The initial attacks leaked somewhere else from rhythm, and also the small arpeggiation in the transition is also lost, and it's actually leaked to another part. So for this track, the rhythm guitar, I definitely give that to RipX, the whole point. But before that, before judging it, I actually should give you the original one, so you can actually decide it. As you can hear, rhythm most of the time is kind of kept by both Moises and RipX, but RipX actually kept all the attacks, and you can actually hear the whole thing. But in the Moises, it actually leaked somewhere else, and you don't have the isolation. But I think it's fine if you're not gonna use the whole thing, the whole separation, and maybe you're covering or something. I think it's fine to have either RipX or Moises. They both could work comparing to the original. And it also, just listening to the original stem and doing a comparison also made me realize I was talking about this song to, people like Ole Steele and Florestan Durant. And Florestan, Flo, I'm going to say, it's Flo anyway. Flo told me that I need to spend as much time as possible with the guitar tracking and editing. And this song was actually that checkpoint. After this one, with all the demos, I did my best to do some editing. That's why I think guitar-wise and guitar tracks, guitar separation, no, not separation, but guitar focus-wise, I'm doing more production work than I ever did on my stuff. It's kind of a disclaimer. I think you would also agree after hearing the time differences in the rhythm. Yo. So what we're gonna hear now is probably piano, because both RipX and Moises has a piano, but normally I'm not quite sure in which part my friend Atesh put it. I think it's supposed to be in a synth bass, not bass, synth bass. And we'll check if pianos are there because there are very small piano movements that Atesh added as a in his production role, and I really like that. It's in the bridge section. Now we're gonna go to the bridge section. It's I should let you hear it first. It's a bit of a long one, but yeah, bear with me. So yeah, I think it's a cool one. By the way, the guitars are amped through Neural DSP Fortin Cali, and it's great. The original project has Gojira, but after talking with Atesh, we kind of agreed on this tone, and I really liked it. I think it's much better, and it actually has much less gain compared to what I was using in the project. That being said, let's continue. I will try to find that small piano moves. I think it's supposed to be here. Let's listen to synth here. As you can hear, it's a pretty nice and smooth piano, and it has four notes. I mean, two, and it's changing to another one. And I wanna check if actually the piano tracks have that because it's kind of important. I mean, it's a dance mix, and in there are only a couple of notes with piano. If you can pick it up, that's a pretty nice thing, isn't it? Let's do it with the RipX first. I will isolate the piano, and we're gonna try to hear that notes in there, and we will judge its quality and if it's picked up or not. Let's start with RipX. Unfortunately, I can hear. I hope that YouTube is gonna provide you that. I barely hear it. It's like maybe minus 25 dB, maybe minus 30, maybe 35. I don't even know the exact number, but on the RipX, you cannot hear that. Let's do it Moises. I am isolating the piano, and let's hear it. Unfortunately, I also want to check by making these guys a little bit bigger. As you can see, not in the bridge, but somewhere it actually picked up something. Let's hear it with RipX. I'm pretty interested. What actually is that? I'm not quite sure. I think some noise leaked into the piano. Nah, that's very bad. It's not even piano. You cannot not identify that as a piano because there's no piano there. So I know because it's my song. So I think they both failed here. They really failed so badly because it's clearly keys. It's clearly a piano. The sound is very easy to pick up. I mean, if you give this track to a 10-year-old, they're just gonna pick it up. There are only a couple of notes anyway. They can't even sing it right away. That was sad for both of them, but I want to move on, and I want to show you the next one. I mean, there are no vocals anyway, right? I the next one is to understand what leaked into these guys. So I don't have any vocals. There are no choirs also. but I'm pretty interested that what leaked as vocal. So since there are no vocals, I cannot show you any original, sorry. But I want to go back to chorus here, and I will make this Apple one a little bit bigger, because as you can see, I hope that you can see, maybe I can click this button. It's going to show you a little bit better what's happening in here. The Apple separation picked up some stuff as vocals. I think it's the melody guitar. It has this vocal-like quality. And let's hear it together and judge it if it's actually something worth to consider as vocals. Even I believed. I mean, it's like it's created on vocal through the ambient guitar and synthesizer, and there are some small clicks that are coming from the ghost notes of snare. So what's happening here? I'm very interested. I should actually, write some lyrics maybe to that and try to sing it. But yeah, it was very interesting. Apple clearly failed on having vocals as separated from an instrumental song, but it's okay. I actually put a couple of vocal-like melodies. I'm just interested that they have something like this as a result. Weird. Anyway, the next one is RipX, and let's make it a little bit bigger first. And I'm gonna isolate it. Hopefully you're gonna hear something, because I see something happening here. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's happening here. Because of the small timing imperfections, I can 100% say that this is the melody guitar. But I don't know how it picked up as a vocal. That's pretty interesting. When I was working on AI, I was mostly working on images and videos. So the audio separation is definitely not my field here. But when I was working on the image stuff, we have multiple layers when it comes to AI, and there are millions of convolution operations, and each layer is picking up something. And you can actually provide an input and see the output. If you're, of course, using a model for images, that's how we do it. But when we give a certain image like a cat, the first layer is always picking up those edges and corners. The next one is looking for this cute face by checking this oval face-like figures and so on. I actually detect that here. It is a model that is trying to pick up a vocal, but it's kind of failed. And it's doing its best to get vocals out of it. That is something that I'm just trying to explain to you, because when you're doing separation, you should be as honest as possible. Here I said split the vocals, but if I don't say split the vocals, nothing will leak into the vocals, because there won't be any vocal separation. It is kind of important maybe to understand what do you need from this, what do you need from that separation. For me, I'm using these tools to do much cleaner covers. And when I split it, of course, I'm doing a lot of solo covers, like periphery solo covers, a couple of Dream Theater, Alter Bridge, and so on. Some of them are pretty dense, some of them are not so dense. But what I do is just get this other layer because all the guitars are there. And after that, I'm doing some special processing, taking out some frequencies in the mid and so on, doing some sidechain work after I actually cover the whole thing. In there, I'm doing my best to isolate guitars and the rest of the stems, because when you do it, none of the other stuff will leak into guitars, and guitar won't leak into other stuff, because as I just mentioned, a vocal model tries to pick up the vocals, so it's actually stealing it from other stuff like guitar, like piano, like synthesizer, and they're leaking into this. That's why we are hearing something like vocal here. It is kind of how it works in very, very basic. It's not even 101. I could just talk about this for days, but I'm just gonna stop here because I wanna. Oh wait, we don't have any vocals on the Moises because I didn't click it. Maybe that's one of the reasons that Moises is a little bit successful in some other areas. So what I'm going to do here now, I want to talk about in which cases you should use this. And I want to start by talking about the lead guitar, because if you check the channel, you will find maybe over 100, maybe 120, 130 videos where I play solo guitar, either cover or some of my own stuff. When it comes to lead guitar separation, there is nothing, no service other than Moises. It's one of the reasons that I'm really happy that this one exists. Here, I want to highlight my really good friend Ateş solo. And after that, you are going to hear Moises lead separation. This is the first of many pros and cons that I'm going to talk about. And this is lead separation. Let's start with the original one and hear my friend's solo in a bit. It's great. It's actually one of the reasons that I really like this song a lot, because of this solo, because it highlights everything that I want to give you as a message. And my friend actually got the whole idea about the song, and I'm really happy to have his solo in this piece. That being said, you heard it, and there are a little bit saturation effects coming from probably the mixing, and I know his tones, it's pristine, clean. And what I'm going to do now is use the Moises. I'm going to solo the lead separation from Moises. As you can see, all the ambient melody guitars are in here, and that makes sense because it's sometimes a bit hard to understand if a patch is coming from a melody perspective or an ambient perspective, or it's actually a lead solo kind of stuff. Maybe it's kind of a melody in the back that is kind of tapped, and I think it's kind of fair that anything other than lead guitars are also here, like considering they're not leaks from drums, but actually the ambient guitars. So you're gonna hear Moises now. As you can hear, the rest of the melody is actually here. Not just that, but ambient melody kind of guitar actually leaked into the lead separation. It is totally fine. I don't care at all because I know that this is the best possible so far coming from a service that actually does lead separation, number one. And I'm very happy about it. That's why I'm talking about very excited because lead separation was something that people were searching for years. At least myself, I looked something for this for years, and I come up with my own system to isolate the lead guitar as much as possible. Now I don't need to do anything. I just use Moises and it's done. Tone wise, it picked up a lot of stuff. I'm not quite sure if it kind of leaked to other areas in the solo, maybe to other, but that's kind of fine and I'm okay with that. I was also kind of interested if this model can pick up not the solo sections in the middle, in the center, but also in the sides, and it's pretty much 100% successful. It picked up everything note by note with the right articulations, and nothing leaked, at least that's what I hear, to other areas, the other tracks. I'm very happy about how lead separation works in this service. That was the most important feature that I want to talk about. I know it's important if you're a guitarist and if you're actually playing something like, guitar solo, lead stuff, and so on. But I think it was pretty good as a feature, and I 100% support this lead separation. The second one is going to be a comparison between price and performance. If you have Logic, or I'm hoping that other DAWs are also kind of supporting stem splitter. Since I am not using them, I cannot give you any insight. The stem separation that you are getting from the DAW is kind of free because, you either paid for it or you're using something that you already paid for other reasons. And with an update, now you have stem separation. The quality is kind of matching with that. I'm happy that I have drums and bass separated. Since now I am able to access the Moises features fully, thanks to Moises team again for this, I would 100% use Moises. But since I most of the time do remakes instead of song covers, like guitar covers, instead of making a full guitar cover, I do everything from scratch. I program the drums and bass, any synths, try to support it with an FX layer, all the impacts, risers, and so on. I do my best to come up with as close as possible cover as a remake. I am pretty strict about that. And one of the reasons is that I am pretty much one of the most careful person in quality here. I think Moises is helping me tons here, and I definitely see myself making guitar covers casually without reprogramming the drums and bass and mixing the whole stuff. But if you have access to only this, and if you like to do some remakes and so on, I think it's really a good tool to use built in the DAW. And CPU is not issue, hopefully, for you. For me, the separation took like maybe 10 seconds for a 4 minutes 20-second song. And if this song had some vocals, I'm pretty sure that Apple stem splitter would do a good job. And for drums and bass, I think it's kind of fair if you do a remake, but besides, I don't see too much usage for this. That's why, that's how I use it. I hear the drums. Now I don't have to hear the bass or synth or guitar and so on. And I can focus on drums and I can actually rewrite the whole drums. That is pretty important to me, and I think it's pretty much it with kind of built-in stuff. The The RipX, however, it is a little bit pricey and expensive, but since I know this AI stuff, how hard to build those models, how hard to work on them, how hard to do the analysis, the R&D time, I think it's much cheaper than its value. And RipX a lot of features besides the stem separation, like doing a manipulation of the notes. So if you have a vocal and you didn't care too much, it's kind of a draft. And if you're wondering what would happen if you change a couple of notes in your vocals or guitar solo, you can actually do that in RipX DAW. And if you're interested into that, just let me know before free trial ends so I can actually test it for you. But if you're going to use it for the stem separation, I think drums definitely passed the test. Bass was kind of okay. For the rhythm guitars, it's totally okay. But considering that, let me try to get it like this. It also has the lead guitar inside, and it is not the best thing in my opinion, especially if you're planning to do a lead cover, kind of a solo cover. In my case, when I have something like this, a guitar separated stem, I most of the time manipulate it, process it through a mid EQ, and I also do a multiband compression as sidechain to my track, my solo track, so I can actually duck it whenever I'm playing it, and it's giving me enough space to put my own solo over the whole song. And after that, I do a small compression, I glue it into the song, and I do a couple of EQ match and couple more processing that I can probably mention later. If you're interested, put it in the comment section and I will actually make a video, and I use it that way. But I think it's fair to say that RipX does a pretty good job. Again, I think it would be much better to see it with a real vocals, and I'm thinking that RipX would be kind of same or similar in quality when it comes to vocals, because most of the time when these stem separations are given as a feature or given as a product, sold as a product, the vocal separation is one of the most important demonstration aspects to sell the whole thing. And that's why I am not sure about the vocal stuff, but RipX actually passes the test for stem separation for the rest of the stuff, except bass, in my case. And the last one is Moises. Again, I already talked about the lead separation. It's one of the most important things for me, and that's why Moises gets the number one medal for me. For drums, it was really successful. For other, I think it was okay. In the drums, I really didn't like that the riser actually leaked into it, but I'm gonna forgive that because it was a pretty dense mix. And I am really kind of sad that neither RipX nor the Moises picked up the couple of piano notes in the song. It was pretty easy to pick up actually, but besides that, I think Moises actually gets a lot of extra and benefit here. I forgot to mention that its price and value here is a monthly subscription. With RipX, you have the models and you're getting constant updates. You're buying it once. That is pretty good. And in the long run, especially you are not doing any lead guitar work, I think it's pretty much beneficial and much better considering the price and performance. But Moises, even if you're not a lead guitarist, there are much more opportunities, because if you have lacking processing power, it will be more beneficial to give it to a cloud service. And Moises does that. You basically upload your MP3 file, WAV file, whatever, and it does the separation for you. And you can actually use that interactive website to isolate either vocals or lead guitar. It actually provides you the click as well, and you can do the transposing and it also gives you the song sections, so you can isolate a certain not isolate, loop a certain area and play and practice that area. So I think it is working a very basic DAW here, and I'm really happy to have also that as a feature. It's not something that I use it, because most of the time I create my own projects and work on them. I feel much more safe and secure, and not all the time I have this very good internet connection. And when I download those special mixes that I make, like reduce to lead guitar, download it, remove the vocals, download it. These mixes that I download, I can use it for different reasons. Like in a live stream, I can remove the solo, use that mix. And when I'm actually doing a remake, I can remove the violins and isolate the violins, and I can do a comparison about what I programmed and what should I hear from the song. So for these cases, I think Moises gives you a lot of opportunities, and it's much easier to use in this regard. And not everyone has the money to pay for this RipX DAW thing, but they're kind of giving you monthly payments, so it's kind of up to you to judge its value and actually buy it or not. But Moises is kind of okay to use with the free trial. RipX as well, they're giving you 21 days, and for Moises, I'm not quite sure, it was 7 days or 1 month. I'm sorry that I forgot that detail, but they're giving you enough time to judge the features. So it's kind of fine, I think, to have these services and use them, judge them. If you're a piano player, check the piano stuff. It failed here, but maybe it's gonna help you in your own genre and music. You can judge the vocals, you can judge the rhythm guitars, maybe with acoustic guitar kind of playing, the rhythm and guitar separation is much better. This kind of stuff is very important because we are actually comparing right now in metalcore context. But yeah, these are the pros and cons that I can think of. With Moises, you can do it everywhere because it's a cloud-based service. With RipX, if you're safe and sound in your home and you're doing separation and manipulation, I think it's pretty much gonna help you with everything. And for the DAW-based stem splitting, in my case, it's Logic's. It's good for vocals, even though I couldn't demonstrate it here since my song is instrumental. And I am really not sure if the bass and drum separation would be interesting for you. But at least removing the vocals and working that way, I think it could do a pretty good job. That's kind of something that I sure. But considering we are talking about modern metal, all the screaming and growling and weird animal noises wouldn't be probably picked up by these models, and I don't think Moises and RipX, they wouldn't be successful as well. That was it. I hope it was interesting for you, and I hope that you got really important insights from this video. I am really interested in your experience as well. Please let me know in the comments what kind of songs, what kind of genres you tried these services, either RipX or Moises or your DAW-based stem splitter. It can be Cubase, FL Studio, if Reaper has something like that, or Logic, and so on. And it would be really nice to have that knowledge in the comment section so we can help each other with these kind of insights, and hopefully some other friends, when they read it, they can judge the quality of these services and actually use it with their own songs, with their own purposes and vision. Thank you so much for checking the video, and I hope to see you on the next one. This was Yasin, and ciao.